Top of the morning, squad. My day started off with the idea that I was gonna go get breakfast for my wife and surprise her. See, here's what happens to give you a typical idea of my day and why that's not gonna happen now. Hello, Carlos. My wife works midnights, so usually in the morning when she comes home from work, we stop off at McDonald's, we get a breakfast sandwich. We come home and we relax before it's time to go to bed. But my wife is off on Mondays, on Sundays and Mondays, so we didn't get up and go out this morning. So I decided I was going to go out and get breakfast anyway, but waited too long. That's not going to be a thing anymore because McDonald's is no longer serving breakfast. So thus ends my quest to get my wife breakfast early in the morning. No big deal. What I wanted to talk about today is that I really enjoyed doing my live video the other day. I was in the car and had my son with me, and I really enjoyed doing that live. And it gave me an outlet to discuss things and then be able to come back and have that archive later that's not necessarily 3 minutes. Like I'm keeping an eye on the amount of people who come in and out, but also keep in mind that I'm driving. I'm not going to be able to stop and answer anything that popped in anyway. I wanted to discuss world building with you guys because ultimately, while I am a writer, world building is more or less what I do when it comes to Power Rangers SPD Elite Force. I try not to focus so much on plot or I don't want to say that there's no plot. Like there's clearly plot. But I found that if you give the characters the space and the freedom to do what they need to do, the series will write itself. So I do my best to give all the characters as much information about the world they inhabit as I possibly can. Like, for example, in Power Rangers Time Force, we're introduced to Exybrians. Trip has green hair, he's got a jewel in his forehead, and we're told by Lucas that sometimes he gets premonitions, but it doesn't really seem to work out. Sometimes Trip sees the future, sometimes he doesn't. So, to expand on that, to find out more and why, I looked into the Exybrian people. And based on logical inference and induction, I was able to come up with what I thought Exybrians would be like. And now I incorporate that into the world, and anything that happens on the Exybrian homeworld is filtered through the lens of, well, here are the facts that we know about Exybrians. We know here's what they do. We know what they can't do. That tends to be my MO. Another one would be Anurians. Like, there's no record of Anurians anywhere in Power Rangers at all. It's just literally a thing that I made up because you have to understand that by the time we get to Power Rangers SPD, we are dealing a lot more with alien races, and there are people on the planet that just are extraterrestrial. So instead of going, well, I wonder what those are, I decided to do some world building and figure out what those races are. So I stopped and I listened to what those people have to say. Gar, for example, is an Anurian warrior. Like, all he knows is fight, fight, fight. Like, that's what his people do. Think Klingons. If you're looking for a frame of reference, think Klingons from Star Trek. But also, Anurians are a little slow. They don't quite catch up, so their vernacular is a little off. They don't necessarily have the best language skills as other people do. But Gar does his best to get by, and that comes from world building. I could easily sit down and write a 2-page monologue and be like, oh, on the Anurian homeworld, this is what Anurians do. Here's how they are. But I would rather listen through conversation and let the characters tell me what the world is. That way it feels more organic. This is how I deal with most of my exposition. I deal with exposition in Elite Force more with, no one's going to sit around. You ever been watching like a CW show and the guy's like, I've been a lawyer now for 12 years. And then his friend's like, you mean because you were the youngest person to ever pass the bar? It's like, Yeah, I get you, but like maybe he was the youngest person to ever pass the bar, but people don't talk like that. Nobody sits around and exposits about their accomplishments like that. So when world building for Elite Force, it's more important that Gar sit down and make mention of a drink that's popular on his home planet that everybody else thinks tastes disgusting. That's a piece of world building that now you can take for granted that everyone other than the Anurian race enjoys this drink. Oh, your super suit is out, my guy. I'm sitting here talking about world building, and the Titanium Ranger suit is on the go, bro. That congratulations, man. Hey, look, real talk, real talk. I getting my first suit is a surreal experience. My very first one was a Power Rangers SPD duty uniform suit that was fantastic. I loved it. I got it from ACG Cosplay. It wasn't the best, but man, you feel so cool when you finally get your gear. But nothing compared to getting my Phantom Ranger gear, dude. Nothing compared to that at all. When that dropped, that that was a moment. I'm not afraid to tell you. Big, happy, angry baby cried like a baby when my suit came. It was such a moment for me. Such a moment. But I digress. Congratulations, Titanium man. I can't wait to see your suit. But yeah, world building, man. Like I admittedly have been a little self-conscious about putting my work out here. Are there really 32 people watching? Like, wow, hey guys. I've been apprehensive about putting my work out because I don't focus. Like, if you read Elite Force, if you were to sit down, by the way, that's in LinkedIn, by the way, like, cheap plug, you can go right to my page. It's the very first one, Power Rangers SPD Elite Force Season 1. If you look at it, I don't focus much on, oh, look, it's Power Rangers out fighting the guy in a rubber suit and they make the monster grow. It's world building. As soon as you get plopped down in the universe, you can see that this is more about just you've been inserted into a universe and you are now trying to figure out how things go. There's no exposition dump that says, hey, here's how things are now, the year is such and such and such. No, I don't do that. Like, you should be able to, through inference, just listening to the characters and learning about the characters, know what's going on. If there's a situation or a political issue going on in the series, then they'll be discussing that in real time. But it won't be like, hey guys, like no ranger's gonna walk in the room and be like, hey, I want to discuss with you the political strategies and the infrastructure of this. No, it's just if somebody has a complaint, someone's gonna complain. I'll give you an example, and then I really hate to cut you guys. You know what? I won't. I'm actually going to Little Caesars now because I'm in a mood. I want a pizza. So I'll take you guys with me. You guys can come with me when I get my food. How about that? So here's an example. I want to give you an example of, instead of just dumping information out at you, we would simply just start the conversation with two characters. Like in LCB on SPD Delta base, there are 56 decks on my Delta base. Each deck has 4 subsections. Deck 1 is specifically designed for sanitation and janitorial work. So no one discusses what happens on deck 1, but everybody knows that deck 1 is the shit deck. So nobody, through casual conversation while they're at work or doing anything else, nobody says, oh, hey, I gotta go down to deck 1 and shovel shit today. I have a 4-hour shift here on deck 1 and that requires me to go down and shovel shit. Like, no, we're never gonna do that. What you're going to hear is a character go, I gotta go down to deck 1, and then someone else is gonna laugh at him and say, sucks for you, you got the shit deck, but we'll never tell you what actually happens on the shit deck. You actually have to go down there and see it. But it's implied that this is where everybody shovels the shit. It's implied that this is where all the sanitation and all the that kind of inner workings come from. We stress that without actually saying it. That's world building. That's important. I strive to world build. I want the environment around everyone to feel as real and solid as possible. I want, when you are immersed in Elite Force, to understand Are you guys sending me stuff? I guys, dude, I'm looking and I'm seeing little plus signs by you. Are you guys sending me stuff? Oh man, imposter syndrome kicks in. I don't even know how to respond to that or handle that. Like, you guys are like sending me things. Like, okay, Titanium Ranger said a plus. I don't know what that means. You sent me a little plus. That's cool. Like, man, I hope that sending me things doesn't cost you guys anything. Like, are you guys paying to? Don't. If you are buying hearts or roses or flowers or that little gold heart thing, whatever that is, don't do that. You don't spend money on me. Don't do that. Like, if you want to do something for me, if you want to support what I'm doing, if you want to follow along, damn, I don't have my card with me. Damn, it just occurred to me that I don't have my card. I have my card, I have mine, but I don't have my wife's card. And I'm up here, I'm literally up here, and I don't have the card to actually do the things that I want to do. Ain't that something? Okay. You know what? Well, this gives me an opportunity to, I'll turn around, I'll go back, I'll get the card, and you know what? Now I don't even think I want pizza no more. Man, like I'm so finicky. Like, but something needs to be done. I'm gonna go back. You know what? I'm not. What I'm gonna do, I wanted McDonald's. I was gonna get McDonald's. I wanted to get my wife breakfast, and that wasn't a thing. So I think now I'm just gonna swing by McDonald's now that I know they're officially at lunch. I'll grab something for lunch. I'll grab like some burgers or something, and we'll go home. But I wanted to pop in with you for world building. I'm so excited, you guys. Like, this is my second live video, and there were like 40 something people here for a minute. Like, holy crap. Thanks, guys. Like, but I have to stress to you, please don't send me pluses or anything. Like, don't waste your money sending me things. Like, I appreciate it. I love the love, but I would much rather you took that and you sent it to, I don't know, I don't want to say charity. That sounds so corny. I mean, but at the end of the day, like, seriously, like, I can't imagine asking you guys to, oh, you like me? Send me a thing to show me how much you like me. Please don't. Like, if you want to like me, if you want to do something for me, comment on something that I do. Like, stay engaged in the conversation, because that's really, like, I don't know what the algorithm looks for, but what I'm looking for is engagement. I want to be able to engage. I get a comment, I respond to that comment, somebody else responds to that comment, then there's a video response, I respond to that video response, me and that guy get into a discussion. Like, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to be able to kick ideas around, ideas beyond who looks the best in spandex or who was my favorite Green Ranger. Like, there's more to be said about our franchise. There's more discussion to be had about our franchise, you know? So, and that's why I focus so much on world building, because it's so rich and so there's depth. There's depth to the Power Rangers universe. Enough that rivals Marvel's MCU, I think. Like, there are enough characters and primary characters and secondary characters that we have our own MCU here. We could do a DCEU if that's what we needed to do. There are enough people in Power Rangers that we can do that, and enough room to create original characters. And that's what I do. That's what Elite Force is. It's a continuation of the franchise with existing characters and original characters, just furthering the story, not altering the story, not looking to repair damage, but a continuation of things that are already happening in the Power Rangers universe. And I don't think enough writers at that, deal with world building. They're just more, I have a story I want to tell. I want to get this story out here. And you get the three acts. You get the hero, he goes out, he does a thing, he's got to make a sacrifice. He gets his team together. Like there's tension for no reason. There's arbitrary dissension just to keep the story going. Then the big plot twist in the third act, and then the good guys are victorious. But I'm not looking for a 3-act structure when I'm doing Elite Force. What this more is like season 1, episode 1 starts on October 21st, 2028. And there's very little backstory that goes into it. You're just plopped down on August 21st, 2028, and introduced the characters and told nothing. You just have to piece together for yourself, based on what the characters are saying and doing, what's going on. And it's like, I compare it to Yu-Gi-Oh! And I don't know if this is a fair comparison, but like, I know people take their anime very seriously. Like Yu-Gi-Oh! For me, when my son was a kid, and he would watch Yu-Gi-Oh! And he was, it's time to duel, and it was this crazy dude with wild hair. Hey, what's up, Mike? Yeah, so there's like Yu-Gi-Oh! There's like this crazy dude, and it's like, now I'll use the Blue Eyes White Dragon card, and that will do this, this, and this, and it'll stop your attacks. And I was like, I don't know what any of these things is. Like, I don't know, what are you talking about? So I wasn't paying much attention. But after like the 12th or 13th battle, even if I wasn't paying attention to the show while my son watched, when like the guy would be like, I'm gonna play this card and it does this, in my mind I was like, oh yeah, well this is a job for the Blue Eyes White Dragon, because in the last episode that's what Yugi did and it worked out. So that's what I do. I try to focus more on the world building aspect as opposed to telling you what the powers are, what the powers can do. You just kind of see the day-to-day life of Power Rangers and what they're going on. You know what, Mike? I'm glad you're here, my guy. I'm working on some stuff. I'm always working on Elite Force. Like, let's be honest. I'm always in my mind. I'm doing something. And the other day, I went to my boy Mike, who's here, and I was like, hey, I'm expanding my lore in my series, and I'm looking for a Yellow Ranger. And the Yellow Ranger in my series was forced to step down because she's pregnant. And I don't want to give you too many spoilers, but yeah, we're deep into season 5 now. And I was like, hey bro, like I need a ranger. Do you wanna do that? And he was like, oh yeah, I'd be honored to do that. So I'm in the process of including him into my series. But it's still just world building, because I'm never gonna give you like, hey guys, this is Michael Parson. Michael Parson does this, 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 and this. When you meet him in the series, when we get to that, he'll be a guy. He'll be a guy who works on a deck, and he'll get approached by a commanding officer, and say ensign or whatever his rank is, and they'll be like, "Hey, what do you want to do? We've got a Ranger Series operator position open," and based on his expertise and where he is in the company and his standing and what's happening, he'll say yes or no. Like, so that's how that works. But that's still world building. That's not me saying, hey guys, this is the new Ranger. This is you experiencing in real time that he is offered the position, he accepts or declines, because I've had that happen. Real story, I'll tell you this, and then I think this is a fantastic piece of world building, and then I'll walk away because now I'm at McDonald's like a big fat ass. I literally pulled up at Little Caesars and didn't have my card. Now I'm at McDonald's because I can pay through the app. In season 5 of Elite Force, in the original run, because I'm now in season 5 again for the Celestial cut, and I'm making adjustments. But in season 5, there is a character who has to make a decision. There's an obscure prophecy that says this guy is destined to be a king. So I went to the person that the character was based on, and I said, knowing what you know, would you accept this? Would you leave SPD to go be royalty somewhere else? And he was like, absolutely. I would have an obligation to my people to do that. So based on his recommendation alone, I uprooted everything that I was doing in Elite Force because that's what the character would do. I don't get to tell the characters what they should do. I'm just here to facilitate the change that's coming. I feel as though writers are more a medium. They're more mediums and less gods in the sense like I don't get to tell people what to do. I get to chronicle what's happening in the story. And then the characters, if written well, will do it themselves. And I think that's the key to world building. So when you hear people say things like writing is hard, or this was difficult, or I had a hard time, or the characters just weren't cooperating, that's someone who isn't respecting the character's wishes. If you construct a strong willed character who can think for themselves and speak for themselves and can decide amongst themselves what they can and cannot do, you're not actively hindering them if you tell them to stop. If your character says, "Hey, based on all the available information, here's what I would do," and then you say, "Nah, I want to do something else," you've done your character a disservice. That's not world building, that's gatekeeping. That's you dictating to people what they should and shouldn't do. I'm not here to dictate. The Elite Force is a chronicle. It's an elaborate history of what happens in 2028 after Power Rangers continues on. SPD is still a force. SPD is still doing it. And instead of going, "Hey guys, the Trubian War is over," we very much, I just throw you down in a universe where there are already 67 other races and other species of people on the planet living and working. And you just have to figure it out. You just get tossed in there, and you just, through induction, through conversations, through the way people interact with each other and themselves and when they're alone and how they respond to orders, you just get it all. You get it all. And that, I think, is world building. You don't want to tell them what to do. You want to put them in a position where they can tell you. So that's it. That's it, guys. Always. If you want to be a writer, dude, it's one of two things. Writing is one of two things for everybody. It's either it comes incredibly easy or you will pull your hair out trying to do it. I found in my experience, when I come to a situation where I'm struggling and it feels harder than it needs to be, that's because I'm forcing an issue that the characters aren't interested in. Okay, one last example, because I'm just sitting in front of McDonald's and I look weird. One more example. God, I want to express this to you perfectly. Yeah, it's hard to put the ideas on the page, bro, because you have an idea of what you want to do, but it's in conflict to what the characters are want to do. Here's the example, and spoilers for season 1 of Elite Force. There is an obscure prophecy about the Phantom Ranger, and there's a woman who she's destined to have children. And this person is the person who grows up and becomes our lead character, and she comes back in time to prevent the invasion. And the character is based on my wife. Like anybody who knows me knows that all my people are here. Like my son's in there, my kids in there. Like anybody who I have any sort of connection to appears in Elite Force. So my wife is there, and you would think that if I consider myself the Phantom and my wife is here, you would think that I would lean into my wife and I being together in the series as well. And when I attempted to do that with the characters said no. My wife in the story wasn't interested in the Phantom in the story. She was interested in someone else. And I, being the writer, I could have forced it. I could have said, "No, you're going to do it. This is where we're going." And I'm sure it would have worked, but it would have felt forced. And that's when writing gets hard, when you aren't being true to the characters or to yourself. That can feel very forced. That can feel very restraining. Like, why aren't they doing what I want them to do? And you have to understand it's not about you. It's not about me. Like, I am merely the vessel by which these things take place. I am literally just documenting things that take place. It has nothing to do with me. So yes, I physically insert myself here. Spoiler alert, in the series, I'm the Phantom Ranger. Who would have guessed? Who'd have thunk it that the Phantom would be the Phantom? But I also don't force them to do anything. Like, there have been plenty of times where I have an idea and the characters, I'll put them down on a planet and I'm like, okay, do it. And they just do something completely different. It's something completely different. And it's completely out of left field. But when you respect your people like they're people, they will act like people and it will write itself. And that's why world building is so important to me. Just to segue, to bring it all back, to wrap it all up, because I've been babbling now for about a half an hour. World building is important because if you set your world up right, if you set your people up right, if you are being true and honest and respectful to who they are and what they want, it'll literally write itself. It literally falls into place by itself. And that's where I am. I have bursts of emotion where I can sit down and I can write an entire season in one sitting. And then I can go 2 weeks without so much as writing an episode. That's where I am. But on my way out, I see my buddy here is once again with all the kind things to say. Before you leave, you're one of my biggest inspirations on this app. I am trying to learn how to accept compliments like that, my friend. Like, it's hard for me to accept that my opinion means something to other people, other than like my wife. Like, of course, my wife's my biggest cheerleader. My kid's my biggest cheerleader. To an extent, the people who have been actively with me while I was working on Elite Force, they're going to be actively supportive. Fun fact, Jessica Ray, who plays Alyssa in Relay from Power Rangers Wild Force, there are two characters based on her real life children in Elite Force, which was my end for her. And when I showed it to her, she was like, this is great. But it didn't go any further than that because, like, the Power Rangers themselves, the actors, they can't push anything along in Hollywood. They can think the concepts are great all they want. I went to Power Morphicon 2018 and I sent the first episode of Elite Force to Bridge from SPD, and he checked it out, but it didn't go anywhere. It didn't go anywhere, but what it did was that it planted a seed in their mind. So the next time that I see Bridge at a convention, I'll go, hey, bro, remember I shot you Elite Force? What you did? He was like, oh, yeah, I do remember that. Even if he doesn't remember it, he'll go, oh, yeah, I remember that. And everybody who's around will go, this guy wrote a thing, and Bridge read it, and Bridge says it's good. Hey, bro, what's that thing? I'd like to see what that is. That's how you get buzz and interest going. If you want to get people into the things that you're into, you need to make it inclusive and interactive for them, which is why one of my major schemes, you, Michael, you have fallen right into my plans, ha 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 ha, by including people from TikTok and other people, like my friends and my community here on TikTok, by including you in the series. I'm saying, hey, look, here's what I think you would do given the best circumstance, and you feel, I don't want to say obligated, but inclined to see what that is. If for no other reason, to see if other people, to see if I have been able to convey what you would do accurately, or if you read and go, that's not what I would do. Or if you can read that and go, oh yeah, well, based on what I know, yeah, that's probably what I would do. It gives me so much insight into how other people think and how other people are. And I'm always about taking the input from other people and incorporating that into my series, because we're stronger together. The more I think of it like the never-ending story where everybody just gets to contribute a little bit, and the more people pour into it, the more rich and encompassing it becomes. And I want Elite Force to be to a point where people consider it the way they consider the comics, where they go, oh yeah, this has a part, this clearly has something that it's interconnected into the universe in some way, but people can be iffy on if they want to call it canon or not. Like, I don't care if people choose to call it canon or not. What I want is for it to be acknowledged for what it is. Like, I have poured my heart and soul into Elite Force, and now I'm putting my heart and soul on my sleeve for you guys so that you can be a part of that and that you can share in that with me, and that the universe that I am writing can grow with your help. Like, I could do it without you. I literally could. I could sit down. I have enough inspiration where if today was my last day on TikTok, I would still be writing for the rest of my life. But we're stronger together. I I would rather we did it together. So if what I'm doing strikes you as interesting, if this is if it sounds like something you'd be down for, come with me on this journey. Come with me. I I'm not going nowhere no time soon. This is what I'll be doing, and I'll be showing you more of my process and more of what I do. Because even if it only touches one person, even if I only reach one person, even if the only person I reach on this app is Michael Parsons, I've done my job. Like, I want it to be heard and understood and reach people. And I've reached somebody. I've inspired someone. Someone looks at me and says, "Oh my God, I this gives me hope and I can do that." That's that means more to me than anything else. So my mission has been accomplished. And if you guys want to see what I can do as far as Elite Force and the concepts that I have, I'm all for sharing. I'm all for sharing. Again, in my LinkedIn, it's all there. If you want to go check it out, season 1 of Elite Force is available. If you click around enough, you'll find your way to the concordance, and oh my God, that's when the real party will start. But I'm done, guys. Thanks so much for stopping by, and for everybody who sent me like roses or hearts or flowers or whatever. Like, I appreciate it, but like, save that for other people, man. I'm literally just happy to see you guys.